My name's Caroline Poynton. I'm recording this today about Nigel Farage. Because I tell you what, right, he can fucking do one. What are they sticking up for Nigel Farage for?
After a sharp exchange at Heathrow yesterday,
you have broken all the rules.
Scrutiny.
And everything else. Cut.
Nigel Farage announced he was making a major announcement. The lectern was delivered to
Scrutiny, he didn't give a fuck about when he was doing that to Rupert Lowe, did he?
Big smile.
Oh yeah, big fucking smile for Nigel Farage. Yeah, when he didn't give a fuck when he was calling Rupert Lowe. Did he? Didn't care when he was calling Keir Starmer. Didn't care when he's calling fucking Conservatives. Oh yeah, but it's alright for him to do it. I don't fucking think so. Fuck off, Nigel Farage.
Looking forward to press conference. He might have a while to wait.
I'm angry at him, yeah. It's not just that, yeah.
No questions.
Well, the new attack from the media is that somehow
Everybody's...
I am a crook.
You are a fucking crook, you liar. I do fucking hate you. He hate you more now than he hate fucking Keir Starmer, mate.
He's getting angry.
I'm angry at him. Nigel Farage.
In my life.
Well, I'm not angrier in my life than angry at you, mate. Oh, well.
He said immediate and government.
Well, how does he feel when he did it to Rupert Lowe? Touche. What, when he sent the police and people to Rupert Lowe's door? And that was alright, wasn't it, Nigel?
Thereby forcing
Fuck you.
Which would happen, I hope, in short order.
Fuck off, I hope they throw the bucket, yeah.
I've decided that the people of Clapton...
I hope they do. I hope these people in Clapton let this fat fuck in a minute goes and fucked right off. Come and fucking win someone like me, Bury. Bury Manchester. Bury Manchester. Come and fucking beat me, an English white woman in Bury Manchester. Because I tell you, anyone, all these people that talk for Nigel Farage, go fuck off.
Parties confirmed they will not be running in the Clapton by-election, which pollsters have Nigel Farage as firm favourite.
I'm not, he's not my firm favourite, he's never have been. I was never voting for him in the first place, and I never will. I didn't like him. With Brexit, I didn't vote for any of it. I didn't fucking like him then. I didn't like him, Celebrity Get Me Out of Here, and I don't like him now. Yeah, mate, you're right. And every time Keir Starmer was talking, the only time Keir Starmer was ever telling the truth is when he was talking about Nigel Farage. And to be honest with you, you know, after just seeing Keir Starmer's face there compared to Nigel's, do you know, I think he's just going to be hated just as much as Starmer. At the end of the day, we're just all called Starmer for taking money off Lord Ali and all that. So it makes it okay for Nigel Farage, but not alright for anybody else. Well, I don't fucking think so. It's not fucking one rule for one and one rule for another, you know what I mean? No. I hope they throw the book at him.
Elected, the investigation into his undeclared £5 million gift could resume, and he could be handed a penalty that triggers another by-election.
I think the Standards Commissioner and the Standards Committee, if you were returned to Parliament, would have to think about whether or not this sort of attempt to...
Oh, and it's alright for Nigel Farage to have fucking friends that are fucking convicted for stuff.
Nigel Farage acknowledged
when we just made all that about Keir Starmer and Peter Mandelson, the Epstein files and all that. What's the difference?
They keep changing all the rules.
No, you keep changing the rules. Well, you've just changed them for yourself.
It is like living in a communist country. For over 20 years now, I have been subject
I would not be voting you, mate.
Demonisation by the press.
You're a fucking fraudist.
Parliament for 20 years cost me
and a fucking coward. Do one.
Nigel Farage alleged foul plots.
Yeah, I knew he was a fraud when he fucking all this. I knew it. I knew there was something dodgy about Nigel Farage. I couldn't put my finger on what it was. And when he said he was going to do the screaming gangs, he's had all that money and he didn't put his hand in his pocket for it. He's a lying twat, mate. Fuck you, you bastard. Fuck off, you wanker. You fucking no good fucking white piece of trash you are. The rest of you. Do one.
We're a democracy.
Do one. We'll have Andy Berman before we have them. What? Fuck off.
Which sounds very Trumpian.
Fuck off.
Donald Trump would say, the fact that voters vote for me, that trumps everything else.
So what the Labour Party is doing,
Dirty
they've announced they're going to
bastard.
change the law so that British citizens
Fuck
can
you.
give donations to reform.
You
This comes
changed subject there. I was asking about the
this
rules
comes
that
on the
govern
back of the Labour
behaviour
Party
and MP.
illegally.
Well, you've had yours illegally now. Fucking do you one. You've had yours.
Jeremy Thorpe, a man
You've had your time. You do one. I think we should just fuck off.
Of Nigel's own daughter's house, and it's got nothing to
Good.
do with public life.
Lots of subjects.
I'm not being horrible now. Do you know what? Sushi.
Sky News knocking on someone's door is the
But
same
when they
as
were knocking on Rupert Lowe's door.
That's quite a jump.
The establishment are trying to play judge and jury.
Well, what when you
against
sent
each other?
fucking
Well,
police to
enough.
Rupert Lowe's door,
Many
bastards?
detected Nigel
For no
Farage
reason.
following lines
Go on.
of his old ally across the Atlantic.
And that was alright, wasn't it?
More than anybody in the history
That was
of the
allowed
country.
to do that to someone that was
Both
innocent.
physically and verbally attack
Because they wasn't
public
innocent.
figure or politician of modern times.
But yeah,
So
I think there was a
fuck
bit of
off.
Trump in that. I think the main thing that it said to me though was that Nigel Farage actually still has some fight in him.
No, he doesn't.
I think there has been this view that
He has
perhaps
no
he's backing
fight
off,
left.
he's frazzled, he's not so into the fight anymore.
Because he's going to be fucking going
This is the
soon.
decision that actually most puts a middle finger up at that theory. This is a guy who's not really willing to go for a
I
by-election.
don't
He
like
said he's ready to
dirty
go for two if he
bastards
has
like
to
him.
make this point.
I do not fucking like people like him.
In the summer.
He now
Fuck
faces
off,
a
you
lonely
bastard.
by-election with no major party running against him.
Fuck off, you
Voters
bastard.
potentially
It was alright
less
for him
his
to put nearly a
anti-establishment
fucking
views,
thing on Rupert Lowe's head though,
his
innit?
friends and fanatics.
Call him a Nazi and anything else.
So, what do the voters of Nigel Farage's Clacton think? Naples
Oh,
named
this
development?
fat fucker in a minute. Oh, fuck himself. Is that all you could get on? Some fat fucker.
Well, it's been a scorching hot day here,
Yeah.
Trish, and some people are asking whether Nigel Farage has called this election because he's feeling the heat. Now, if you thought the Makerfield by-election was
See this
consequential
fucker in a
for the
minute.
future of
Fat
our country,
fuck.
Nigel
Go
Farage
fuck off, you
today
fat
said to
bastard.
voters here that this by-election will be just as important. And just as Andy Burnham wanted to prove that he has the popular vote up there, the support of his base in Manchester, that's what Mr Farage is hoping to do here in Clacton. And you have to remember, he's hugely popular here. I was here during the last election and
Well,
saw
do you know
people
what?
queuing up to shake his hand.
Right,
to
I
have
am voting
selfies
Rupert Lowe
done with him. So
100%
he knows
left.
that he has got a lot of support here.
But if I
The
do
voters
have
of
to,
Clacton who previously voted
if I have to,
Conservative
just to
are
keep
an older
fucking
electorate,
Nigel out,
right?
I'll
But
vote
there are
for
also, pockets
Andy
of
Berman.
deprivation here. Some people have been
But I
speaking
am
to me
voting for
about the cost of
Rupert
living,
Lowe.
about the fact that prices are going up. So we
But
wanted
if
to
I
know
have
what
to, I
they
will
thought
vote
of the
for
fact that their MP has
Andy
been earning
Berman just to
millions
keep
of pounds
fucking
since
Nigel
he
out.
was elected. And he
What a
says
dirty
today, he said today
bastard.
that he has sacrificed a lot of
He
potential
has
income.
not
when he
sacrificed.
became
Well,
their MP.
fuck
He
off
has
then.
said that his salary and income
He's
is
not
far higher
sacrificed
than the
shit.
average
I'll
here.
tell you a person
Now,
that
Nigel Farage
sacrificed
framed this
everything.
as an election
Rupert
all
Lowe.
about the establishment
Rupert Lowe is the one person that
reform. He said it would be up
sacrificed
to the
a
people
lot
of
more
Clacton
than
to
Nigel
vote,
ever
not
has.
the media or
Fuck his
Parliament or the
fucking
Standards
money.
Commission.
We'll
So he
burn
said
it
to the
like he
people of
could be
Clacton
burnt.
what they make
Fuck
of it all.
off.
This is what they told me.
Shove it
Would
in the
you vote
bin.
for him again?
Yes, probably, yeah.
The £5 million, all of those questions wouldn't put you off.
No.
Yeah, well, it does with me, you dirty
Do you
fucking
think
fat
that this election,
twat.
though, is
You
a
know,
way of
tea,
avoiding
fuck
those
you.
questions about
Because
that
you're a
money?
fucking
It is,
knobhead.
I wouldn't
You're
have
a
thought so.
fat fuck.
If he
Don't
says
know
what
where
he
you're
says,
from. If you're from
you
Clapton, I'll come and
fuck
give you a
off.
fucking
We don't know.
slap right round your
There's
face.
none of these
We're
questions
clapping
about
you
money
are in.
and the £5
You
million
fucking old differing
sitting in
bastards.
Parliament thinking,
Go fuck off.
I mean, it's just that they're against
Fuck off,
reform.
you idiots.
Conservative and Labour have just been absolutely useless. So
Yeah.
time to have somebody
It's
else
always
in
Nigel
the
Farage.
think
He's a
because of
useless
that,
bastard. What has he
and
done
they
for
know that
Clapton?
everybody's
Nothing,
starting to
love.
think reform needs a chance.
Oh,
So
shut
they're
up. No,
just
they
questioning
don't.
every
You want to
single
give that a
budget.
chance when he
Do you
didn't
think
even
they're
want to deal with the
right?
grooming
You
gang
get this
scandal.
amount
We
of
are in
money,
the
do you
pedo
wonder
gangs with him
What
and
you
the
would get
same
in
as.
return for it from this guy who's into
Anybody that
crypto.
wants to be fucking
Do you
near
think there are
Nigel
legitimate
going in the
I
pedo
think if you
gangs.
dig deep into every single person that
He's
walks
a
in Parliament,
fucking
they've all
pedo.
got their dirty ways, let's be honest.
Yeah, well,
Then
he's a
every-
dirty bastard, isn't he?
Every MP gets
He used the grooming gang scandal to fucking get
But do you not
votes.
have any worries about that £5 million? I mean, what did this crypto guy want in return?
Well, that's
Money.
just it. No one knows, do they? Who can answer
No
that
one
question?
knows, yeah, what he wants. I know,
He
mate.
stayed and didn't resign.
Don't be a dickhead. I know what they want. Power.
So
Control.
people do have questions about that money, as you saw there. People understand that it is right to question Mr. Farage about it, but they are also very much behind him. A lot of people that we spoke to, they say that he does have popular
No,
support here, and
he
that's
does
what
not.
he will be banking on when we go to another by-election
Yeah, because
here
they're just
in a few
old
weeks' time.
bastards.
Gosh, let's not.
Need to go and get a fucking
Well,
life
a
for
short while ago
themselves,
for
I
our
tell you.
podcast, I
They need
spoke
to go and
the
get a
creator
life.
of the Conservative Home website, Tim Montgomery, who's now a Reform supporter. He was joined by Ben Habib, a former
Good.
ally of Nigel Farage, as he was the co-deputy leader of Reform UK.
Oh, and now
He's
all of a
since left
sudden
the
they're
party
talking
and
about
now
Ben
he's
Labib.
in
What about
Conservative.
Rupert
And they
Lowe?
were joined by the pollster Luke Trill.
What about Rupert Lowe on the establishment parties on these fucking media
I don't think he's
bastards?
handled this affair particularly well. I think he's looked too
Fuck you, mate.
defensive in some of
Fuck
the
off,
interviews that
you
he's conducted,
dickhead.
and he hasn't conducted enough interviews.
He ain't
But I
done
think
shit. He's a
Reform
liar.
gets a level of scrutiny from the media that is off the scale compared to
Oh, no
other
wonder.
political parties. You know, the Financial Times recently... No, absolutely.
No, he doesn't.
I was sitting here politely listening.
It's only the same amount of scrutiny, mate, as he was giving to Restore Britain. Shut up, you fucking idiot. It's the same amount of scrutiny, sir, as they were giving to Restore Britain.
Decide whether Nigel Farage gets suspended or not is not going to be fair. Much fairer
No.
to go. Hang on, just 1 second. Much fairer to go to the voters of Clapton.
I don't
in
think
a
it is.
democracy, let voters decide.
Why should he do that?
Well, the Commissioner hasn't ruled. There hasn't
If
been
he's
an
committed
inquiry.
fraud,
He hasn't had
a
a chance
crime,
to answer or
broke
answer
the
any
fucking thing, then why should he be allowed to do any of that?
Nigel Farage's version of the truth.
Oh, I thought you conducted a journalism exercise. You examining Nigel Farage all the time.
You don't resign if you're innocent.
Yep.
You resign when
You're
you're
guilty.
As it happens, I'm not suggesting that he is guilty. There's a process that has to be gone through. But if you feel you're going to be found guilty, that's when it becomes politically expedient to resign. And what he's done here, which you've alluded to, very cleverly, is forestall the parliamentary
And he hope
Standards
Keir
Commission's
Starmer does
ruling,
him on it.
and take it back to the people, casting himself as David versus Goliath. But actually, that's not what's happening.
Because I did say if Keir Starmer can do one thing Keir Starmer before he goes properly, and that's do Nigel Farage.
Those are the questions we don't know the answers to going into this new by-election.
I began by saying I don't think he's handled this affair.
And he'll get
particularly
one
well.
tick off
he
me back.
He does need to acknowledge that this isn't a box of
Don't mean I
chocolates.
forgive him for everything, Keir Starmer. Don't forgive him for anything. But I'll give him one tick back.
What influences Nigel Farage all of the time is that he gets up every day knowing it could be his last day. The security threats to him are enormous.
Good.
It's a gift to help him afford...
Shut up, mate. You didn't give a fuck when he was doing it to Rupert Lowe and Ben Labib.
In the year before he became an MP, while he was the owner of Reform and the honorary president, the idea that Nigel Farage was not a politician in some form.
So that's a very
At the time
important
he
point.
took this money. It's nonsense.
May I just develop that point? Because he's repeatedly said in the last few days that he wasn't politically active. Nigel Farage has been politically active non-stop since 2019 as majority shareholder and director of Reform UK. Every single thing he's done with that in the background.
Now, Luke, tell us about what has been happening over the last few weeks of this controversy swirling to Reform's polling numbers.
So when you ask people the extent to which the 5 million, if we focus on that, affects people's view, and particularly whether it negatively impacts their view of Nigel Farage, around 57%.
And go on, Ben Labib. Get it out, Ben Labib. Don't hide back from him.
Around a third say it doesn't really affect their view of him at all.
Because I like Ben Labib. I like Rupert Lowe.
Really important point.
I mean, I think it was a bit finger of what happened with Rupert Lowe and Ben
So the people
Labib.
who backed Reform at the last general election, they are much less likely than average to say.
And out of all of them, if I have to, I'll be voting for Kerry Badenoch. If I can't vote for Rupert Lowe, it'll be Kerry Badenoch.
Farage. And what it seems like when you look at the polling on, particularly on the 5 million, which is what we've got, is those who don't like Nigel Farage don't like him even more.
Because I was going to say, now that she's got rid of all them bastards out of the Conservatives, all the old cunts,
Reform UK say actually doesn't make much of a
seem to
difference.
be doing a lot
I
better.
think the group that Nigel Farage has to worry about are the middle group. They are people who didn't back reform in 2024, but might be open to backing them in future.
It may not be anything to worry about in Clacton. Clacton we'll see the result of that soon. But that is the group you need to carry to win a general election. And so if this weighs on that middle group, then even if you win to Clacton, he's going to feel that he's got uphill struggle all the way to the general election.
If you're so confident, we now know that Rupert Lowe's not going to stand, why don't you stand against Nigel Farage? If you believe this case is so overwhelming, make it so you vote to Clacton.
I think it's really brilliant thinking from Rupert Lowe not to stand. This isn't a legitimate by-election. It's one that's been called in order to short-circuit parliamentary standards. That's why it's been called.
As Margaret Thatcher would say, Fritz, you're Fritz.
And Rupert Lowe, I don't know whatever Fritz means. Rupert Lowe not standing is the right thing. I don't think the Conservatives should stand. And Labour and the Liberal Democrats should boycott the by-election as well.
Can we talk about George Cottrell then?
How dare they try and put that onto Rupert Lowe or anyone else?
Clearly committed an offence.
How dare you?
But he served
Fuck off.
Justice.
But you think it's wrong?
These things
It's
wrong.
What I do
Don't throw that onto Rupert
I
Lowe.
think part of why Nigel Farage
Not
is
Rupert Lowe's fault.
angry and irritable and underperforming
Take responsibility.
is he knows he messed up.
Yeah, he has.
Privately,
Big
knows
time.
He should have been more
And he did do in the first
I
place.
think I think yes, I do, and I think he does.
He was the one that, they was the ones that took it away from Rupert Lowe and give it to the Greens. They give it to fucking Labour.
Things are moving fast. Bye-bye.
Yeah. They
This
fucking
isn't a
give it away.
legitimate by-election. It's one that's been
I'm
called
sick of it.
in order to short-circuit parliamentary standards. Rupert Lowe
I'm
not
sick of
standing
them.
is the right thing. I don't think the Conservatives should stand.
I don't think they
Labour
should either,
and the
mate.
Liberal Democrats should boycott the by-election
Yep.
as well.
Reform gets a level of
I
scrutiny
think they should.
From the media that is off the
I
scale.
hope Andy
compared to
Berman
other
does.
political parties. You know, the Financial
well.
Times recently. No, absolutely.
I was sitting here politely listening.
100%. He is a man who knows what he believes and cannot.
No, he is not a man that knows what he
Aren't
believes.
you a bunch of egomaniacs?
He's a fraudist.
For control, and the only reason you're now against Nigel Farage is because you want to be the boss.
Fraud.
Hello and welcome to the forecast.
And he hope he
Nigel
gets the book
Farage
thrown
is
at
trying
him
to take back control of the scandal
by
of
the establishment.
Facing mounting questions and a parliamentary
For
standards
once
inquiry,
in their lives, do the right
recall
things.
petition and by-election. He has preempted it all and
I was going to
forced
say,
one
I hope
himself.
the establishment, for
He's
once in
pitching it
its
as the
fucking
people
life,
against
does
the
the right
establishment.
thing.
The chance to flick two
We don't
fingers
see
at the
much
media
of it, but I hope they do for
and
once.
Ruby's done nothing wrong. But will it work? Will
No.
it resolve any of the questions about who gave him money, why, and why he didn't declare it? Is this a genius masterstroke by a brilliant tactician,
No.
or a desperate stunt by an angry man that could backfire?
Desperate.
Is it effectively an admission that the inquiry will find he broke the rules? Joining us, the former Conservative, now Reform-supporting commentator Tim Montgomery,
Because he
former
did.
Reform deputy leader turned Farage critic,
And he has
Michael
broke the
Bentley,
rules.
and from More in Common, the pollster Luke Trill. Thank you all for joining us. Tim,
And
he knew
I
he was
really
going
hope to
against
God that the establishment do the right thing for once.
I don't think so.
And
I
put
don't
the
think
foot
he's
down
handled
and say
this
they're not having it.
particularly well. I think he's looked too
I really do.
defensive in some of the interviews that he's conducted, and he hasn't conducted enough interviews.
Because
But
he's
I
not
think
done shit.
Reform gets a level of scrutiny
No, they don't.
from the media.
And what about Restore Britain? Didn't you give them enough scrutiny?
You know, the Financial Times recently. No, absolutely.
I was sitting here politely listening.
100%. I've just criticised Nigel Farage. I don't take the party line. But, you know, the FT recently led with a Reform councillor in Kent resigning. Look, that's the nature of it. We
They're
have
all
to face it.
resigning from
Reform
Reform.
as an insurgent party, I get why there may be good reasons why we need to be tested more. But Reform threatens both the Conservative Party and the Labour Party. A parliamentary process where ultimately Labour and Conservative MPs decide whether Nigel Farage gets suspended or not.
Well, they hope they
is
do
not going to be
suspend him.
fair. Much fairer
Oh,
to
the
go.
No.
Just one second.
No.
Much fairer,
Why should
much
it be?
fairer to go to
No.
the voters of Clapton,
No.
real democracy, let voters
No,
decide.
I don't think that should be allowed.
Well, the
Yeah.
Commissioner hasn't ruled, there hasn't been an inquiry, he hasn't had a chance to answer or ask any.
Exactly.
What are they going to be voting on? Nigel Farage's version of the truth?
Oh, I thought you conducted a journalism exercise.
No.
You examining Nigel Farage all the time. The idea that the voters of Clapton do not have a lot of information with which to judge whether Nigel Farage should continue
They
to
don't.
MP or not, that's for the birds. They have plenty of information.
No,
So,
why should
You don't
anybody be the
resign
judge?
if you're
The
innocent.
judge is meant to
You
be the
resign
judge.
when you're guilty. As it
I'm going to
happens,
say, mate,
I'm not suggesting that he is found that he is guilty. There's a process. that
why
has to
we're
be
not
gone
allowed to
through.
be the judge
But
of
if
that.
you feel you're going to be found
No-
guilty,
no
that's when
one's
it
allowed
becomes
to be the
politically
judge of
expedient
that.
to resign. And what
Yeah.
he's done here, which you've alluded to very cleverly, is
I'm going to
forestall
say,
the
apart from
Parliamentary
Parliament,
Standards Commissioner's ruling.
who does he think he
and
is,
take
man?
it back to the people, casting
I'm going to
himself
say,
as
mate,
David
who
versus
does Nigel
Goliath.
Farage think
But
he is to try and
actually,
overthrow
that's not what's
Parliament for
happening
himself?
here.
No.
We're not talking about
I'm gonna
the
say, mate,
establishment
it's
picking
not-
up on, free sunglasses, for example,
Yeah,
which used to exercise
exactly.
Nigel Farage when he was commenting on Keir Starmer. We're talking about fundamentally a £5 million gift, which was made only a couple of months before the general election in 2024.
And look how much
which
thing we
by
made
any
from that.
sensible man's yardstick.
Look
should
how,
have
I was
been
going to say,
declared
look how
on
much
the register because of the 12-month prior rule that Parliament
fuss they made
has.
of, well,
It's
fuss
so
they
obvious
made
what's
over it, so
happening here
obviously
that
the
he's
people
stepping
made
round
over it.
the very necessary scrutiny over 5 million quid.
Well,
And
if
let's
it's
just- and the 5
if it's
million
so
quid-
obvious, then let the voters of
No,
Clapton decide.
no.
They will agree with you if it's so
No.
obvious.
So I'll come to that in a second.
I
if
don't
may,
think
but
it should be.
the 5
I
million
think it
quid
should be
wasn't
down to the
from a
Parliament
mate.
people.
It was from someone who donated £14 million to the Brexit
I just
Party,
don't think
and who since has donated £15
that
million
should be
to
allowed.
reform. This man is a political donor, and the notion
I'm going to say, I
that
don't
the
think
£5
that's
million
not the rules.
carried no influence with it is
I
one
don't
that
think
I'm
that's
afraid
the
doesn't
rules. I
wash
think
with any
that's
sentient
kind of
being.
breaking
Of
rules.
course, there must be some influence with £5 million quid. If he liked Farage as a friend, if he was grateful to Farage for what Farage has done, you might give him a bottle of champagne, maybe a case of champagne, but you don't
Because
hand
then
over
if that's
£5
the
million quid.
case,
And that is the scrutiny
I
which
was going to say,
Farage
well,
is
if that's the
sidestepping.
case, mate, anybody can do that.
Look, about a year or so ago, Elon Musk was basically trying to buy reform. He wanted Nigel Farage to agree to a whole series of very right-wing views. When Nigel Farage didn't, Elon Musk backed people like Ben
This is
Rupert,
wrong.
Rupert Lowe.
Tim, this
And-
is just factually incorrect.
Well, I only interrupted you once. You've interrupted me every time I started to start
But that's
to make
just factually.
make a point.
Yeah, 'cause you're
No,
lying,
again
mate.
and again, there are people
Fuck
like
you
Tommy
lying, you
Robinson
dickhead.
that Nigel Farage
So?
stands up to. He is not a man that can be bought. His policies,
He has been
whether
bought,
it's
you
Europe
liar.
or immigration or welfare reform, have been long-standing.
There are
And
two
that's
slightly
that's
different points
why.
there, aren't there? I mean, that's true. It's absolutely true that Nigel Farage,
Long standing
has
because he's been given money for
rejected,
it, mate.
the far right, has rejected Tommy Robinson, has rejected
Mhm.
Elon Musk, and Ben, we'll talk a little bit about that because you have backed
He gets very little
or
credit for
shared
it. Very little
platforms
credit for it.
with Tommy Robinson, but that's a separate question to
No,
the
very
Yeah,
way
it is.
It's about
And
whether
no,
he
it's
can
not.
be bought,
Why he accepts
whether he
it.
could be influenced.
and whether he
And
can
I
be
hope
influenced by
that the
Can't
establishment,
you be influenced by
Labour,
£5 million?
and
That's the question.
Conservatives throw the fucking bucket
Yeah,
in.
the question around the 5 million is,
I really
Farage
do.
had decided he was going to stand for
I hope they decide
He
that they're going to
hadn't
throw the
been given
bucket in,
5
mate.
million quid's worth of financial security.
Shouldn't be allowed for the people to decide that.
Going
What?
into this new by-election.
That's
I
not.
began by
I was going to
saying,
say
I
as well,
think
mate.
British
That ain't
Council
fair.
particularly
That
well.
to allow
He
the
does need to
public
acknowledge
people to
that this
decide.
isn't just a
I don't
chocolate
think
bottle.
that
It's
is
It's
right.
a very substantial.
I don't think that's
gift.
Do you
right.
think it influenced his decision to go
No,
back into Parliament?
I've tried to already. That's why I mentioned
I don't mean on
including the
issues,
Elon Musk and his long-standing issues, because
Because
he's a
if he
man
wins
who
and
knows
that, like
what he
saying
believes
then,
and
that's it.
cannot be bought. What
No,
man-
I don't
and
mean on
also-
an issue. I mean on the
you think-
decision to go into Parliament. Do you think it influenced his decision to go into Parliament, knowing that he now had this 5 million
Yeah.
quid nest egg in his bank?
Well, what influences Nigel Farage all of the time is that he gets up every day,
So?
knowing it could be his last day. The
So?
security threats to him are enormous.
And what about
I
what he
think
did
if
to
lives another
Rupert Lowe?
20 years, the security bill he will face.
I'm not being funny. What about the security bill for Rupert Lowe? About what he did to Rupert Lowe?
You're presenting it like a political.
Trying to put fatwas up on Rupert Lowe's head.
For his own security.
But Ben says it was a gift by a political donor in the year before he
And
became
people like
an
me
MP,
and anybody else
while he
were
was
trying
the
to say
owner
to
of
these other people,
and the
please don't be
honourary
doing
president.
anything to
The idea
Rupert
that
Lowe.
Nigel Farage was not a politician in some form.
So that's a
At
very
the time
important
he
point.
took this money. It's nonsense.
May I just develop that point? Because he's repeatedly said in the last few days that he wasn't politically active. Nigel Farage has been politically active non-stop since 2019
Yeah.
as majority shareholder and director of Reform UK. Every single thing he's done with that in the background. And so if you are donating 5 million quid to the controller of Reform UK, the idea that that won't have some bearing on Reform UK, as I say, doesn't pass muster with any sentient being. And that is the heart of the issue here.
And that's why
it's not
he
just a
didn't get the money off
parliamentary
night.
standards thing either. This is an electoral commission thing, because the electoral commission
Off
has
Elon
Nigel
Musk.
Farage
It's
as
not
a
that
full
Elon
member of
Musk
the political
backed
party
out.
down as a
No, it's
regulated
not that he
donee.
backed out
He
Nigel
should have
Farage.
had
It was that
every
Elon Musk
single
didn't give it
donation
him
as a
backed out.
political activity between 2019 and 2024. There's not a single declaration to the electoral commission. Not a single declaration.
Let me bring in Luke Trill now.
I'd like to respond to some of those points.
Well, okay, respond to that first, and then I'll bring in.
I am conceding one very substantial point. It needs to be transparent. That was a mistake.
No, mate, it's
I
not a
think
mistake.
Why
It's
I
fraud.
think by-election is the right way of resolving this.
No, it's
is
not.
Ben makes his point, the case against Nigel. You know, he doesn't
It's not.
ever have a good word to say about Nigel anymore. It's ridiculous.
Shut up, mate. I've not got a good word to say about him either.
Other people in Parliament.
So now you're going to blame it on Ben Labib? Now you're trying to call Ben Labib? Dirty bastard, you. Fuck you, mate. Fuck off, mate. Trying to call Ben Labib there, then. Don't call Ben Labib. It's not Ben Labib's fault. How dare you, mate?
That might influence your decision to go into Parliament or not.
How dare you?
When, at a time when Nigel Farage was saying
Fucking try and blame someone else.
No, insofar as it afforded the security that enabled
Exactly.
it, maybe that, but I don't think the voters in fact will have any.
Now we talk about the competition that's coming. Restore.
So what you meant? What do you want? Everybody that likes Nigel, not nobody that doesn't like
Sort of
him.
allied with you in a way, Ben, have said that they are not going to stand in this election.
And I respect
which
Rupert
is
Lowe for
a
that,
very
actually.
interesting
I'm glad,
move. Now,
actually.
Luke, tell us about what has been happening over the last few
And I
weeks
just thought
of this
that Labour and all of
controversy
them
swirling
do
to
the
reform
same.
polling numbers. Because
Are
they're
you
still
kissed
out
arm
front,
or
aren't they?
They are.
has a bit of a backbone for once in his daft life?
Well over a year.
Now he's in the background a
They're
bit,
not,
not being scrutinised as
high as
much.
they have been.
I
So
hope
you
that
look at last summer and early autumn, they were bumping into
he does
the
one
low
thing
30s. They now tend to be
correctly.
in the sort of high 20s.
I'm going to say I hope he gets one thing right. He's got nothing else right all this term.
Of the other political parties. There is some hypothetical.
To be all
polling
fair
when,
now, yeah, I have said about the Conservative Party, someone ruined it.
Might nudge ahead
Yeah.
of reform, but only just.
And now I
that is,
see
of
who it
course,
was.
Only hypothetical polling, but at the moment, at least, reform remain the front runners. They remain ahead, even if their lead is slightly narrower than it has been.
Yeah, but I've been saying to myself for ages that someone and everything in the background has been ruining things for people.
And the support he was giving Nigel Farage before the
And
election as well.
maybe
So when you ask people the extent to which the 5 million, if we focus on that, affects people's view, and particularly whether it negatively impacts their view of Nigel Farage, around 57% say that it has a negative impact, whereas around a third say it doesn't really affect their view of him at all. It's worth saying that number who says it has a negative impact on their view of Farage has increased since May. So when we asked back in May, it was about 10 points
I don't think it's
lower,
increased.
the number saying it negatively impacted their view. But interestingly, and I think this is the really important point, amongst Reform 2024 voters, so so the people who backed reform at the last general election, they are much less likely than average to say that it affects their view of him. In fact, 74% say it doesn't affect their view of Nigel Farage.
Why
so you've got a bit
shouldn't
of a mismatch. Basically, what it seems like when you look at the polling, on particularly on the 5
Why
million,
shouldn't it affect them?
which is what we've got, is those who don't like Nigel Farage don't like him even more as a result, or say they don't. Those who are the sort of true supporters of Reform UK say actually it doesn't make much of a difference. I think the group that Nigel Farage has to worry about are the middle group. They are people who didn't back Reform in 2024 but might be open to backing them in future. The group that takes Reform from 15% of the vote up to 30%.
Why would you want backing them? What
less
for?
likely than the general public to say that this
I don't
is an issue,
understand what
but
they
more
want
of them
that
do
bastard
say it's
for.
an issue, and they are the group that I
Don't get
think
it.
Reform
I don't
needs
get
to
it.
really
We
focus
might
on.
as well fucking carry on with
But this is
fucking
all
Andy
about-
Birmingham and bastard Labour lying. If we're going to go with that, we might as well go back to Conservatives and Labour lying.
You back him no matter what.
Might as well go back to Keir fucking Starmer, mate.
And it doesn't, you know, you can, I mean, Alan Trump
Fucking horror. Why would they
we're
want
kind
to
of-
back
we're almost
someone
in
that's
that world
lying?
now, it doesn't matter.
And that's continuing to lie.
Or woman, you know, once you back them, you back
No.
them. But in that, is that middle group anything to worry about?
Yeah, I think it is.
I think all them
It may
people
not
that
be
paid
anything to worry
membership
about
should
in
ask for the
practice.
membership money back. I do.
We'll see the result of that soon. But that is the group you need to carry.
Because
in a
he's
general
lying.
election. And so if this weighs on that middle group, then even if he wins Clacton,
It's not
he's
just
going
lying,
to feel
it's
that he's
fraud.
got uphill struggle all the way to
It's
the
not
general
lying,
election.
it's
And can I
fucking
just add one more
fraud.
thing? It's not just the Parliamentary
I'm gonna
Standards
say-
Commissioner that's looking at Farage. The
Fraud.
Financial Conduct Authority has also had an application made to review his conduct post the donation from Christopher Hartmore because of promotion of cryptocurrencies and so on. So even if he wins this by-election,
It's just as bad as what
there could be
Labour
more
are
trouble
already
for
doing.
Farage down the road, and he's going to be fighting this all the way through to a general election.
You
And
won't win.
That middle group will
He's
be
just trying to take it
increasingly
away from
swayed
Restore Britain
by
and
all this
everybody else
negative
now.
news because they won't
Because
like
he's a
it.
selfish bastard.
We now know that Rupert Lowe's not going to stand. Why don't you stand against him?
No.
If you believe this
No
case
one's
is so
standing
overwhelming,
against him. He can stand
make
on
it
his
so I
own,
can
mate.
go to the Clacton.
Because I just hope to God
it's
that
really
he
brilliant
doesn't get
thinking
shit.
from Rupert Lowe not to stand. This isn't a legitimate by-election.
Good.
It's
I'm
one
glad
that's
you're
been
with
called
Rupert Lowe,
in
mate.
order to short-circuit
'Cause-
parliamentary standards. That's why it's been called.
As Margaret Thatcher says, Fritz, you're Fritz.
And
You know.
Rupert Lowe, I don't know whatever Fripp means.
Brown.
Rupert Lowe not standing is the right thing.
Thing.
I don't think the Conservatives should stand.
Good.
And
I
Labour
hope
and
not.
the Liberal Democrats
I
should
hope they
boycott
don't.
the
I hope they
by-election as
don't.
well.
I mean, isn't the bigger point, Tim, you know, that what Ben raises is that, assuming he comes back, he hasn't resolved anything. The investigations
Gonna still go on.
Other investigations may carry on.
Good.
And he will say, well, this is just the establishment
No,
coming
it's
after
not.
reform.
For once in the establishment's life, it's actually not the establishment.
To believe that all of these institutions
Fucking
are
hell.
just corrupt and
But-
rigged and all the rest of it. They're
But you see, because the establishment have lied so many years, over so many years, nobody can believe anything anymore.
and rules are there to be obeyed.
But look, I have been around a long time. I was there with Ian Duncan Smith with a parliamentary inquiry into his wife's service as his secretary. And I saw it with the
whatever,
Boris investigation into Partygate.
Yeah.
And
There you
I
go.
saw it with Owen Patterson. I know these investigations, and you're right, there are good people involved, but they're not judicial processes. And Owen Patterson, for example, couldn't put witnesses forward.
Yeah,
And
whatever,
there's
mate.
just one judge who makes the decision. There isn't a prosecution and a defence, and then MPs decide. So it is a process with some authority, but it is not a court of law, and it doesn't have the court of law standards. So ultimately, these are political judgments as to whether you accept the outcome of these processes. They aren't illegal in that traditional sense, and that is why I think asking voters to make the ultimate decision.
Well, it should
is
be
the right
legal.
way
Are
of
you
going about
comfortable
this.
with sort of undermining all our British institutions?
No, because
That's what
these
you
are
think. By saying, well, it's not criminal. No one's saying it's criminal. It's about
It's
whether
criminal,
well,
fraud.
It's proper and decent and in the spirit of democracy.
Well, I think it would be good for Channel 4 News to investigate this because there are some real deficits in these processes. That's all I'm saying. And I'm saying that these processes can be fishing expeditions.
Mm.
Where they start with
Right.
one problem, and then they look at other things. And I know that there are certain newspapers, almost on a weekly basis, Reform MPs and leaders are getting extraordinarily rubbish accusations they're never published. One week after another, there's an awful lot of journalistic investigation.
Can I just ask?
And a lot of it's politically motivated.
Can I just ask, before this raised its head, there were 17 failures to disclose registrable interest by Nigel Farage, adding up to £384,000. This is not a one-off instance. This is a litany of a failure to abide by the Code of Conduct of Parliament. And Parliament is a democratic body.
Yeah.
It's not just an institution. It is the representative.
And I hope they're doing for it,
It is
mate.
the representative institution
really
of our
do.
democracy. So to say that, you know, it's the establishment against me is basically to attack the very heart of British democracy. And just one more thing,
I
if
hope
I
they
may.
do what's
On
right
the
for once.
Parliamentary Standards Committee, there are 7 MPs, but there are also 7
We're sick
lay
of it.
people. And they're not
And I
party
think they
political.
must
And
realise
they
people are sick of
contribute to
this.
the process. So even though it's not judicial, it's quite an extended, detailed affair.
So are you surprised by this behaviour of Nigel Farage?
I'm not surprised. I mean, if you go back
No.
and you look at Nigel Farage's history as a European member of the European Parliament, there were multiple probes into his financial probity. And even as recently, before this thing blew up, he said he bought that house in Clacton. Then it transpired that actually it was his partner who bought the house in Clacton. And questions are still about how she could afford it, given her background and so on. There's a lot of weirdness that's around the finances of this individual.
Yeah.
And it's a problem for reform. It's not the establishment creating these problems. These are he said
This is reform
that I
powers,
bought
isn't
that
it?
house
Yeah.
in Clacton. Then suddenly it was his partner.
The idea that
which bit's
the
untrue?
idea that
Which bit's
Nigel
untrue?
Farage is only interested in making money. This man has been involved in
Shut
politics
up,
for a
Navid.
quarter of a century. He's taken up cause after cause.
Has he?
It's like Brexit was very unpopular at the beginning. He takes causes and he transforms public opinion. This is a man with deep beliefs who faces enormous security threats by staying involved in politics. He's a man that's probably made more difference in politics than people who've been prime minister. To slur him as just interested in making
Yeah,
money.
because he's been the elephant in the room, mate.
Well, it's just not true, is
Well,
it?
it's true. It is true.
He told you himself at supper.
Yeah, I said, look, this was in August 2020, and I said, Nigel, Rupert Lowe, Robert Rowland, and I took Nigel Farage out to supper at my expense, quite a salubrious supper. And I asked him, we all three of us asked him, please get back into campaigning mode. We need you to hold Boris Johnson's feet to the fire because the trade agreement he's negotiating with the EU is not a good one. And he turned around to me and he said, Ben, it's fine for you. You were born with a silver spoon up your backside. But I've been in politics for 20 odd years and I need to make money. At that point I concluded this man's not interested in
Wanting
politics.
to needing to make money is not the same as being obsessed only with money.
I didn't
You
say
take
it
the
is,
most
mate.
uncharitable
It is the
view of
same
Nigel
thing.
Farage.
I'm telling you
He's
what
obsessed with money
I mean,
and he's a
Nigel Farage's
fraud.
not here to give us his version of that dinner, so we'll have to accept
It's a
what you
very-
say about your account.
for me-
Assume that he would contest
For
it.
me, it was a very important dinner because it showed me someone who wasn't
I'm more interested in a quarter of a century of political
Well,
involvement.
no matter what you're going to say to me, mate, fuck you, you're going to sit there and carry on. Right, I tell you what I've done to Nigel Farage, mate. It's one of the worst pattern things to fraud.
Listen to the tape. You said he was only interested in
And
making
yeah,
I just want to ask
do you know why I've put him in that category? Because I have a right to, as being a victim to the scandals of grooming gangs. And Nigel Farage said he was going to deal with it after he had all that money. He didn't do shit, so he's a pedo.
Trust extend to all these other institutions,
Just
whether
as
it's
much
the
as
Financial
fucking
Conduct
scam.
Authority, HMRC, parliamentary standards. You know, are all of those things equally suspicious?
Yeah.
Well, look, it is definitely fair to say that trust in lots of institutions beyond politics
gone.
has eroded
Yeah, well, what's surprised with people like him
recent years, and things
and the
like
rest of it.
judicial systems, interestingly, have become more polarised. It tends to be that more socially liberal members of the public tend to
What do you fucking
back
think?
the judiciary more than more socially conservative members. But,
I'm
and I
not
think this
surprised.
is really important in this case, when you pitch one of those institutions against a politician, those institutions come out on top. So people are more likely to trust HMRC, the Financial Conduct Authority,
No, not
than they
necessarily,
are
mate.
any politician, and that will include someone like Nigel Farage.
No, not
And I think
necessarily.
it's quite dangerous, again, politically, to go to war against them. It's not the same.
Not necessarily.
As, criticising fellow politicians or even criticising something like the civil service, because people will say, well, hang on a minute, they're holding you to account. I do tend to trust them over you because you're a politician and I don't trust politicians.
So the people versus the establishment may not work.
No, I think it may not if the establishment is saying you are kind of bang to rights on, this issue, so if
Well, I
it's
don't think
HMRC
people would
saying
do
you
that,
haven't done
mate.
that,
If
it's the
Nigel
FCA,
Farage was telling the
saying you haven't
truth,
done that,
then
if you look
people
at
would be
some-
with
look at
Nigel
the evidence
Farage.
which Angela
If he
Rayner's
was
tax
genuinely
investors
telling the
know
truth,
that Angela Rayner could have
then
run an anti-HMRC
I
campaign
could see
and
it
come
myself.
out on top.
I'm not fucking
Similarly, I
blind.
don't think Farage would be able to against
I'm
a
sorry.
body like
Well, he's
HMRC.
not.
That is very different, though, to fellow politicians in Parliament.
Can we talk about George Cottrell now? Because this is the latest story that the Sunday Times have revealed. Was George Cottrell around Nigel Farage when you were around Reform?
Yeah, my entrance into politics was in, I think, March 2019 or thereabouts, and George Cottrell was around then, yeah, and he's been around.
What was his role function?
Well, I remember sending my first donation to the Brexit Party, as it was called then, to George Cottrell, who was handling the receipt of donations, and that's what he was doing then. But he's never really, as far as I can see, had an official role in the party. He's just in and around Nigel Farage. Maybe Tim can shed some more light on George.
I heard that you know him. Clearly, he committed an offence, but he served justice. He's written a book about how to combat the kind of activity he was involved in. He's trying to make good, and so I think everything in the Sunday Times article probably was factually correct. But I don't really know what they were trying to say. I don't think any criminal offence or law was broken. What they were trying to highlight was someone who did wrong things in the past is in Nigel's orbit. Perhaps Nigel needs to consider whether that's politically savvy. But actually, the smear that's being made, on top of the legitimate questions, which I've already conceded about the £5 million gift, I think what newspapers do, what journalism do, they try and create this sense that there's lots of things wrong. And I don't think this particular story added up to anything other than going through stuff that we already knew about.
But you think it may not be sensible for Nigel Farage to be hanging around with a convicted criminal who served time in an American jail. I mean, is that what you're saying?
I'm just saying...
It's all very well to be forgiving, but...
sometimes you have to make difficult decisions in politics, and Jonathan Aitken, people who've done wrong, so they don't go back into politics, and Nigel may just have to be careful as to who he associates with, because he's not going to be judged fairly by a press that is largely hostile when stories like this come up.
Wasn't the point of that story not just that he's hanging out with a convicted fraudster, but that these may be other things that should have been declared? You know, that this was the use of a property, payments for security, for social media, in the year before he was elected, that have also not been declared. That was the point of that story. And the other thing that may happen now as a result of this is that the clock gets reset on what Nigel Farage has to declare. Because when he comes back to Parliament, assuming he's re-elected, it's only the 12 months before that by-election. So if there's anything else that we don't know about in the run-up to the 2024 election, Nigel Farage is no longer needed to declare it. That's quite clever.
To Parliament?
Yes.
But he does to the Electoral Commission.
I think Ben is right on this, actually. I think it's more complicated than you just set out. And I think even if it's white clean in terms of Parliament, you won't lose interest, and quite rightly you won't lose interest. The press will continue to follow you.
But you think it's wrong
these things
to
up.
pursue
What I do believe is, I think part of why Nigel Farage has been quite angry and irritable and underperforming in interviews of late is he knows he messed up. I think privately he knows he should have been more transparent. I think
he should have declared.
I think, yes, I do. And I think he does really. And we all make mistakes. And
no, it's not a mistake,
also
that's fraud.
There's been too many mistakes by Nigel Farage on reporting. As I understand, he's busy, he's building a party from scratch. The lesson to be learned from this, and this is my big question about Nigel Farage, is lots of things are not happening in reform that need to be happening in reform. on seat and candidate selection, on reporting, on regular structural meetings with his colleagues, the kind of thing that a grown-up political party does, and a man who really wants to be Prime Minister does. And for me, this by-election is a distraction from that. Nigel Farage needs to get a lot more serious when hopefully he wins the by-election, because if Reform is going to be the government that people trust after what I think will be a Tory failure in government and then a Labour failure in government, we will have the tyres kicked like no other political party. And we're not ready for that process yet, and I hope we've got a full 3 years of the Parliament to be ready, and Nigel needs to get much more serious about all of that.
Ben, we've already established that Restore aren't fighting, but can we just talk about the splintering of the right and the threat it poses to any ambitions of Reform to form the next government? I mean, what a lot of people wonder is, are you a bunch of egomaniacs squabbling between yourselves for control, and that the only reason you're now against Nigel Farage is because you want to be the boss, and the only reason Rupert Lowe's got his own party is because he wants to be the boss, and that you're all just power hungry?
No, not at all. I don't believe Farage is the deep-thinking political sort of bastion of democracy, sovereignty, borders and all of that. I think Farage is actually a political chameleon in many ways. He pivots on one issue to another depending on the constituency to which he's talking. He seeks popularity a bit like Boris Johnson over political principle, and I think he's deeply dangerous in any form of office. I think he would be deeply dangerous to this country, and I think he would trash the narrative for a sovereign, proud, prosperous United Kingdom, one that I firmly believe in. And when I left Reform, I left Reform for those reasons. And when I set up Advance UK, which is the political party,
You're also to the right.
I think she should be banned.
I don't know how you define right.
Not 10 days for
I
life.
don't flirt with Tommy Robinson. Let's just.
If you
can I
break
say
your
one
oath
thing
with
about
that,
my
you should
ego
be banned
before we
for
get there?
life.
I set up Advance UK because I felt there was a need for a serious, principled political party that would not take the knee every moment, every opportunity it got, a bit like Farage does. And I can give you lots of examples of where he drops the ball at a crucial moment or changes his position. But
I'm not comfortable for all
and the minute Restore started showing itself not to be just a social media phenomenon, but actually manifesting itself in real electoral politics, they won 10 out of the 10
It's not a real person, it's a fucking wango.
In the Great Yarmouth area, they got 7% off